Hello, everybody. How you doing today? Hope you are well on this lovely Thursday morning. Thank you so much for joining us on the Bible study this morning. We're going through the Book of Judges and having a great time doing it, I might add. And so I'm just thankful that you are here with me this morning doing this and a part of this. So thank you so much. I'm going to open up back to the beginning of the Book of Judges for just a second. Because I want to remind you of a man named Othniel. Okay, I think it's really important for us to remember where we started, right? And so the Lord decides that He is going to rise up a judge, and He rises up judges to redeem Israel, and He begins with a man named Othniel. Now, why am I starting with Othniel today? I know that we're in chapter 12. I know that Othniel was a long time ago, but I think it's really important for us. I think it's really important for us to remember the original purpose of the judges. To remember the original purpose of the judges. Othniel, it says of Othniel in Judges chapter 3, verse 10, the Spirit of the Lord was upon him, and he judged Israel. He went out to war, I'll remind you, in the Lord's favor, doing what the Lord had called him to do. And the Lord gave Cushan-Rishathaim, the king of Mesopotamia, into his hand, and his hand prevailed over Cushan-Rishathaim. So the land had rest for 40 years, right? Othniel was the ideal judge. He was the ideal judge. I think it's important for us to remember that. Othniel was not a judge seeking a kingship. He was not a judge on his own accord. He was not a judge living life only for himself. He was a good judge that God put into a position to redeem Israel from a season of slavery. That was the original purpose of the judges. Today in chapter 12, as we begin reading chapter 12, verse 8, we're going to read about three judges that are mere footnotes in the history of the book of Judges. We're going to read about them, and we're going to see in their lives how far we've fallen. Verse 8, Judges 12, verse 8, after him, this is after Jephthah. Remember, we just finished our conversations on Jephthah yesterday. After him, Isban of Bethlehem reigned judged Israel. He had 30 sons and 30 daughters he gave in marriage outside his clan, and 30 daughters he brought in from outside for his sons. And he judged Israel for 7 years. Then Isban died and was buried at Bethlehem. After him, Elon the Zebulunite judged Israel, and he judged Israel 10 years. Then Elon the Zebulunite died and was buried at Ajalon in the land at Zebulun. After him, Abdon, the son of Hillel, the Pirathonite, judged Israel. He had 40 sons and 30 grandsons who rode on 70 donkeys, and he judged Israel 8 years. Then Abdon, the son of Hillel, the Pirathonite, died and was buried at Parathon in the land of Ephraim in the hill country of the Amalekites. Now, here's what I want you to realize, okay? What I want you to realize as we read their stories, when they mention tons and tons and tons of children, first of all, we just finished Jephthah. Jephthah had one daughter. He equated false gods with the one true God of Israel. He ended up, out of his foolishness, out of his misunderstanding of who the one true God is, he tried to make a deal with God where he said if God would do what he wanted, then he would offer whatever came out of his house first as a burnt offering. What came out of his house first was his one and only daughter, who he did end up offering as a burnt offering. Even though that displeases God, he did that, and he ended up being a foolish judge who would not negotiate and did not lead well. And then after him, it says the next judge had 30 daughters and 30 sons, which it puts the daughters first because it's kind of distinguishing between the two judges, right? But the other thing I want you to remember is if you have 60 children, you do not have a spouse, you have a harem. Understand that first and foremost. This is a textual clue that this judge was acting less like a judge and more like a monarchy, more like a king, right? That's what he's doing. In fact, they tell us in the text how he acts like a king. He takes his 30 daughters and lets them marry into 30 men outside of his clan, right? He's building all of these inroads and relationships. He's being political even with his children's relationships. He does the same thing for his sons. He brings them women from outside the clan. He's much more interested in building a monarchy than he is in judging and redeeming Israel. He's much more interested in making sure that his kids have all of their needs, wants, and desires met upon his death than he is about actually taking care of Israel and making sure that they have their needs met and that he does what he's been called to do. He's building this kingship, right? The next judge we don't know a lot about. There's some fun wordplay with his name, but nothing that really needs to be brought to light now. And then you have Abdon, right? Who had 40 sons, and then who had, it said, 30 grandsons, and all of them rode donkeys. And all of this, once again, it's a clue. There's a harem, there's money, there's this looks much more like royalty than it does a court system, than it does judging, right? And we have to understand that. What we see in this is that over time, power corrupts, right? It just does, right? It's very, very rare that you can have somebody who is super powerful, super influential, and also honest, also legitimate, also truthful. Like, that is a very rare reality, right? And the Bible exemplifies for that for us here perfectly. Like, you look over the years and how far we've fallen from Othniel. Othniel was a servant of the people and a servant of God, right? That's what Othniel was. That's who Othniel was. He did what he was called to do, and he led well. And now we get to these guys who are living and neglecting what they've been called to do, and instead living selfishly and leading poorly. Othniel was allowed to lead for a long time. These men are all leading for a little time. I think it's important to understand that. It's really important for us to understand that power that is unchecked can create an opportunity for us to diminish our calling and to elevate our desires. So that's a really important thing. Real small today. I know it's a small text today. You know why that is? Tomorrow, he finally shows up. We're going to talk about Samson. We're going to start the conversation about Samson tomorrow. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video or if you found it helpful, click the thumbs up button. That really helps us. If you have a question for me or you had a comment, you can always leave that in the comment section. You can subscribe to these videos and click the bell icon to receive notifications when we go live. And once again, if you would share this with one person who you believe would find this helpful or interesting, I would greatly appreciate it. That's it for today, friends. Thank you so much for watching. Bye-bye.